This Bible question is an excerpt from our television program, What Do the Scriptures Say? We hope that it will enrich your spiritual life, and we hope that you'll come back to www.scripturesay.com to find answers to your Bible questions. Thank you. This next question comes from Kingman, Arizona. Question is it a sin to be rich? And I sure hope not, because most of us who are here in Arizona are pretty wealthy, aren't we? We have fine clothes to wear. We have nice homes to live in. We have paved roads. Recently, I was in a place that was not as well developed as Arizona. The infrastructure was not very good. Some of the people that I ran into lived in little huts and dirt floors. I would consider us in Arizona pretty rich. The question, though, comes, I know, from a sincere concern that all of the material blessings that we have here in America may prevent us from being in God's presence in eternity. And I'm assuming that Matthew 19, verse 23 and following may be part of the concern. I'm going to read that, although it wasn't part of the question. Here's what the passage says. And Jesus said to his disciples, "Truly I say to you, it is hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Again I say to you, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven." So perhaps our questioner had that passage in mind, or some of Paul's warnings to Timothy. Timothy was to teach these things, 1 Timothy 6, verses 9 and 10. But those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a snare and many foolish and harmful desires, which plunge men into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all sorts of evil, and some, by longing for it, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. And then there's some instruction, additional instruction, that Paul says to Timothy, give to those who are rich, 1 Corinthians 6, 17 and 18. Instruct those who are rich in this present world not to be conceited or to fix their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly supplies us with all things to enjoy. Instruct them to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share. James, the Lord's brother, said this in James 1 and verse 10. And the rich man is to glory in his humiliation, because like flowering grass, he will pass away. For the sun rises with a scorching wind and withers the grass, and its flower falls off, and the beauty of its appearance is destroyed. So the rich man, in the midst of his pursuits, will fade away. Well, all of that, you might say, reflects negatively on those who have wealth. Rich people have temptations. Rich people can fall into the snare of foolish and harmful desires. The money is a root of all sorts of evil. People who want to get rich may be conceited, may trust in the uncertainty of riches. Rich men in the middle of their pursuits will fade away. But not every rich man in the New Testament is portrayed in a negative light. Let me take you over to Matthew chapter 27, verse 57, and give you the example of a rich man who knew how to use his resources properly. When it was evening, there came a rich man from Arimathea called or named Joseph, who himself had also become a disciple of Jesus. This man went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate ordered it to be given to him. And Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a clean linen cloth and laid it in his own tomb, which he had hewn out in the rock, and he rolled a large stone against the entrance of the tomb and went away. There's a rich man portrayed in a much different light. In one of Jesus' parables, God is portrayed as a rich man in Luke 16 and verse 1. Let's read that. Now he was also saying to the disciples, there was a rich man who had a manager, and his manager was reported to him as squandering his possessions. And then later on in Luke 16, verse 19, we have the story of the rich man and Lazarus. But remember that in that story there are really two rich men. There's the rich man and Lazarus, and Abraham is mentioned in that story. And Abraham was a very rich man. To answer the question directly, is it a sin to be rich? The answer is absolutely no. It is a sin to squander your money. It is a sin to use your money to satisfy your own sensual desires. It's a sin to allow money to be your goal. Those things are certainly pointed out as sinful in the Scriptures, but to have resources is certainly not sinful. It depends upon what you do with those resources. We thank you for your interest in What Do the Scriptures Say. We hope that you'll come back to scripturesay.com often for answers to your Bible questions. See you then.